Hey folks, how's everyone doing? Yeah, I'm not with Matt right now. He's busy doing other stuff, which is perfectly fine. He's having some quality time, which is actually a great idea and something we should all be doing more of. But I just didn't want to leave you guys hanging because, since last weekend we didn't do it either. I just wanted to, maybe an hour or so catching up with you guys, going through some of the latest news, some of the developments, this stuff going on, commenting on that, reading your messages, answering your questions if you have any that are things I could help you guys with. I mentioned before in the comments that I did the previous video I did was regarding inflation. It's a pretty important issue right now, especially these days because it is escalating. It is getting to that point that you guys are not so familiar with. So that was like a half an hour video. I try to do things short whenever possible. Sometimes you can. Sometimes you have to go into it a little bit more. But if you watch that video, have any questions, this would be the moment for those. So let's go through some of the messages here. Krok, first message. Please no more Bracken. Look at the Bucha massacre. He's spewing Russian Kremlin propaganda. You're helping Putin. And I can see you comment. It's saying they agree with Matt and Putin. Man, no, that's I don't allow any kind of propaganda. Matt just has a slightly different opinion on certain aspects of the war, but that's entirely all there is to it. There's no. I don't have any kind of Russia propaganda in my channel. I just don't allow it. I have lots of the typical Bitcoin spam, lots of the sex spam stuff, and yes, lately with everything going on, there's been quite a bit of Russian propaganda. The problem, though, is that a lot of people repeat Russian propaganda because they actually believe it. That's why propaganda is so effective, and that's why in times of war, you don't let your enemy use your own networks, your own channels for their own propaganda. Let them deal with that crap themselves. But I don't allow any propaganda on my channel. What we talk about with Matt, that's two friends talking about something that in a couple of points we have slightly a different opinion regarding a few things, but that's all there really is to it. Looking forward to seeing the stream. Always interesting to check on the ride. Crack, I like Mr. Bracking. I get to keep Mr. Bracking, absolutely. Matt Bracking is paid by Alexander Dugin, leading advisor of Putin. You know what? No, Matt's been a great friend, not just a good friend. He's been a great friend over the years. And unless you actually have any kind of real proof of that, which I know you don't, no, stop with that nonsense, really. Just it's simply not true. We have to be careful these days because there is a war going on. There's people being massacred. And yes, I'm going to be going into that in a second. There's people being massacred right now. And it is, it's a serious deal. It's no joke. And yes, absolutely, we should not allow Russian propaganda because these people are the enemies of everything I at least hold dear. Freedom, liberty, those are things important to me. I guess that at some point they're important to many Americans as well, even though some apparently forgot that, no, you do not back Russian dictators. No, you do not back a dictator like Maduro. They're all the same, or a dictator in China. Why is it that they're all dictators? Why is it that all dictators side together? Why is it that China is an ally of Russia and pretty much dictators stick together? If you are siding and supporting and spreading the propaganda of dictators or financially being benefited, you're on the wrong team. And yes, this is a huge difference. And I did a video about this. We are reaching a point where being naive it can be dangerous as well. I watch many times the videos from Russell Brand. He, I don't think Russell Brand is a Russian operative by any means, but when I see what he's been posting regarding the war in Ukraine, it just doesn't sound right. When you look at his sources, he's using socialist sources. You cannot find objective news from an openly socialist or left-wing propaganda website. That's not going to be something that's going to be giving you an honest account of events. Socialist, communist, dictators, they will always, and yes, they're very much the same thing, they will always stick together. It's no surprise that the commies in China are backing the commie in Russia, and they all have pretty much the same agenda, which is destroy the West through any means possible, using Disney to destroy our future generations. Of course, why is it that Disney has all that crap in their movies lately for the West, but they sanitize and remove all of that for China? What is it? Is it pure coincidence? Is it just an accident? No, they know what they're doing. They're weakening and destroying our future generations while taking care of their own. There's no accidents here, people. There's not just happy coincidences. This is what I've been saying the last a few months. So be very careful what's being said by whom and the different interests involved, okay? Anyway, enough of my rants. I want to go back to the questions. Looking forward to seeing the stream. He doesn't give a wet fart about corruption in the region, and doesn't country involved in our RT Tucker Bracken have the right to speak. Dude, try to write a proper sentence, because that's impossible to read. Perfect example of what I'm saying. You're throwing in a sentence, my friend Matt, with RT, which is Russian television. That's the Russian outlet. That's Russian propaganda. Of course, the only thing you're going to be getting from Sputnik and Russian television is Russian propaganda, because that's literally Putin's media. Of course, the only thing you're going to be getting. Now, Tucker Carlson, I have my doubts. I have extremely strong doubts about his interests here. I mean, as I said before, as he said before himself, why can't I root for Russia, which I do, after Russia invaded Ukraine several times? Well, I don't know. You're a commie, I guess you support, or you're being paid. I have no idea. There's something that just doesn't compute right there. Same thing with Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard openly saying that Ukraine should simply surrender to Russia and accept their fate as I don't know, let them kill them, slaughter them like sheep. Nice. That's nice from Tulsi Gabbard. I hope she doesn't change her tune if her own country is suffering the same fate one day. Samir writes, who knows, dude and dudettes, ponder less about war in Europe for the moment and make sure your families are secure in water, food, and that which you require daily. Pat O'Connor, absolutely. I mean, you should be capable of doing all those things, right? You should be able and the war in Ukraine is a serious deal, guys. It's no joke. It is something like we probably never thought we'd see. Again, we thought that we've gone past that. The idea of the tribal attack of the tribal leader, just because he has a bigger stick, whacking the neighbor over the head and stealing his stuff just because I can. We thought that was no longer accepted as a civilization. And all of a sudden, yeah, you have people that will do that, which is what's going on. There's a number of excuses that Russia is claiming, but at the end of the day, when you look at the actual actions, that's all there is to it, right? It is one country with a force to attack and take over the other, and going for it. At first, part of the territory, and now full-scale invasion of the entire damn country, like like no one predicted. We talked about this with Matt before. We thought they would be moving on the eastern area, on the eastern um, part of the country. The idea of an entire attack for the entire country was something that none of us saw coming. But anyway, it is happening. Not sure what you guys are gonna have to release a bracket. Yeah, Matt is busy right now, so yeah, it's just gonna be me, guys. I hope you're. Whoops, I'm on the narrative from 2 months ago. Howdy from Texas. Thanks for your time, Perfel. Thanks, man. I encourage everyone to disagree, but yes, learn from the others. And you two disagree agreeably. It's something that's been lost. Apparently, the idea that you can have a different opinion, and that's not the end of the world by any means. Especially when you're longtime friends. Of course. I mean, we've been talking with Matt for what, like years now, and it's actually we talk about this offline, but man, it's nice to finally have something, at least to some points, on having a little bit of debate and disagreement, and try to make those points. I encourage everyone to disagree. Yes. Hi, Fairfeld. You can help explain where the U.S. is on the trend of what is likely happening based on how we are following similar fall like Argentina. Kidnappings for ransom, home invasions coming. I think you have plenty of home invasions already. Steve Bishop. Yeah, you know what? You have right now in government a bunch of dirty commies. that's simply the way it is. You have a very old man, which I have nothing against old men. I hope I'm one of them one day. But he's very deteriorated in his cognitive abilities, and he's being handled like a puppet. And the people handling him are commies. Are left-wing fanatics that see this as their moment. And yeah, that would be one of the things, unfortunately, we've suffered across Latin America. Certainly in Argentina, these left-wing ideologists have this idea of it is our time now. Now it is payback. Now we'll get what we want. And they don't let it go, it is very interesting to see what, especially when you throw into the equation the situation in Ukraine, because they cannot say out loud, like, yeah, we're, but their actions. I don't want to go on and on with the same topic. Just look at the actions. Just look at what's actually being done. Look at what's actually being said by someone criticized me in a previous video because I showed a clip from CNN. You have to watch CNN. You cannot stop watching CNN just because it is CNN to the United States is like Russian television, RT News for Putin, right? So what's being said by CNN is the official stance of the current administration. So you need to know what they're thinking, just like you watch Fox News, which is not all that different. The bipartisan system, the bipartisan political system, that's just one party away from being a single party commie dictatorship. It's not that far off. Think about that for a while. Just two parties. They're not all that different. They actually end up always doing the same damn thing. You think it's all that different? Man. Most of every other country, you have a number of different political parties, not just two. Just have you ever considered that? There's really no other country that has just two political parties like that. Not in the same, not to the extent of the United States, where you just have those two. Anyone else? I remember, because I am getting older and years go by, I remember Ron Paul. You guys like Ron Paul? I like Ron Paul quite a bit. Now he's of course, he's again of a certain age and he's not as sharp as he used to be. But Ron Paul was canceled by the mainstream media. When he was doing very well, very, very well in the polls, he just got canceled. They just chose not to even mention him. They would mention the first candidate, the second one and jumps to the fourth specifically so as to not mention that man's name because he was not aligned with the agenda. Democrats and Republicans, they eventually aligned with the agenda. Ron Paul was not, was not what they wanted, and they just canceled him. He never had a chance. That's simply the way it is. Pat O'Connor says, I've been bribing Matt with Domino's Pizza and 40s Old English. Yeah. Question, can Russia troops be leaving Ukraine capital to prepare for a nuclear strike? Carmen Jean. You know what, Carmen? I'm thinking the exact same thing. Interesting, right? How we think the same thing. That's what I'm thinking as well. I think that they're moving away. They're leaving because they're going to be doing something horrible. And, I want to hear Tucker Carlson justify a nuke being detonated over Ukraine as, yes, that's not a democracy, so they should be getting nuked. But you know what? This is the level of, you're not getting the full picture. Even if you watch CNN, Fox, the kind of images that you see in other media outlets from other countries are completely different. The massacre that was just uncovered, it is the streets are just littered with corpses, gray, rotting corpses. It's very impressive. It's very sickening as well. But that's the kind of image it's not being shown in the American mainstream media, at least none that I've seen. I have it here right now. CNN, nope. Fox News, nope. Fox News right now says this is genocide, says Zelensky reacts to disturbing new images coming out of Ukraine, says what civilized world needs to do. Yeah, and he's absolutely right. The civilized world does not act this way. And the images, because I'm clicking on it, man, and they're not showing it. I understand it's very disturbing stuff, but probably says something that they choose not to show, the kind of thing that is very gut-wrenching. But in other parts of the world, they do show it. Just check other media outlets. Is Matt coming on today? No, busy with our stuff. Putin is pushing the world towards the ultimate goal of the World Economic Forum. Bill, man, I don't know. It's certainly serving the interest because this is something that the World Economic Forum predicted. That doesn't mean that they're responsible for every single thing that happens. Klaus Schwab is not so much the mastermind as much as the employee of the people with the real money. Klaus Schwab has this. I know for a fact because, for example, when he talks about the Argentine president being a young leader, that man is not leader of anything. I know that for a fact because I know from the time that he was just the secretary of Cristina Kirchner. That man is not any leader of anything. But Klaus Schwab talks about how he's really handling all the politics in the world. No, the people that pay off and the people that he works for, the real elites, which Klaus Schwab is not it. He hasn't got that money. He hasn't got BlackRock money or Putin money or Xi money. In China. So no, but he pretends he has everyone under his umbrella. Hey Fernando, are you aware of the Disney execs leaking Zoom call? They do have an agenda. Tony Stark. I'm not aware of the Zoom leak. You know what? I probably know what they're saying. Yes, of course they have an agenda. As I said before, even reading your question there, why is it that they unleash this poison on children in the West, but that's not allowed in China? That's not allowed in Putin. Definitely wouldn't allow it. Oh, Putin is my buddy because he's against the communist agenda. No, why is it that China does not allow this, but the same company spreads this in the West? You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that. Luke Thompson, I think that man took over Putin's yacht single-handed. Which one of them? Putin has, with his network of oligarchs, he has yachts all over the place. Dude has a lot of money, a lot of money. Probably one of the richest men in the world, if not the richest man in the world. But you know what happens with these dictators? They have all of these oligarchs that, as long as they are in power, it's a very interesting thing. So, listen up. As long as he's in power, Putin, he is the richest man in the world because he has power over all of these oligarchs that the agreement is basically half of what you have is yours, half is mine. All of those billions, half belongs to me. Now, the moment they're not afraid of him anymore, he loses that, right? Because his power is on brute force. His power is over, if you don't give me my share, I kill you. I poison you and I kill you. When he loses that, he's done. Yeah, sorry for that awful cough. Jay Morris. Anybody who denies what the Russians are doing in Ukraine should be ashamed of themselves. They're committing mass murder and rape. Yeah, well, yes, they are. And there's people that will deny it, but that's the power of propaganda, man. There's Ukrainians that call their own parents in Russia, and their parents don't believe their own children when they're telling them that they're being bombed. Do you doubt that's real? Of course it's real. That's how powerful propaganda is. Clear gray sky. America's worth fighting for. I'm not sure Ukrainian is. I suppose you want to say I'm not sure Ukraine is. You know what, man? For Ukrainians, it's quite clear that their own country is worth fighting for. I have my doubts that the average American will fight as hard for America as the average Ukrainian is fighting for Ukraine. Let that settle for a minute there. Jared Williamson, can you discuss Ukraine attacks on Russia fuel depot and consequences? I did a video about that. I don't know if it's even a real thing. Could be. Now, 2 helicopters sneaked into Russia. I don't know. Could be. Consequences, if it's a false flag, it's likely to be used for something terrible. Let's hope that's not the case, but that's one of my concerns would be just that. Steve Rainbow, America has to eliminate the Federal Reserve and go back to its constitutional roots. Amen to that. Good luck with that, though. Good luck with eliminating the Federal Reserve. That is the elites. The Federal Reserve is the machine that enslaves us all by printing money that we have to work for. They don't have to work for a damn thing. They just have to print more of it. But you and I, we have to work for it. We have to create something or break our backs or something. They, through a blah, 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 blah system, they just print their own wealth. And that's pretty much slavery in the modern age. But yeah, I absolutely agree. Eliminate the Federal Reserve. But yeah, don't hold your breath. John Michael Karma. Poon and I are playing chess by Skype right now. I'm waiting. Okay. Marine, Aldi's store was pretty bare today. Man, if you haven't got your preps ready right now, you really should, get going because the economic aspect of all of this, and then when I say all of this, I'm talking about what's been going these last few years. The amount of money printing, commies in the White House, the elites taking over pretty much the world into a situation where small businesses have been destroyed. The elite has doubled their wealth by printing money for themselves. You have to pay for that. That has to be paid by someone, and that someone is all of us. And the way you end up paying for that, the way the elite doubles their wealth in a couple years, is through inflation. Inflation is the system by which money goes out, not money, but wealth, which is not the same thing. Wealth goes out of your pocket and into theirs. Mark Davis, neither side is clean. Man, that is typical Russia propaganda. You see that, right? Neither side is clean. What? You have two sides. You have Ukraine and Russia, and both are dirty. Come on, man. Are you really that naive? You think that it's equal? It's like it's on the same scale. A dictator murder like Putin is just the same as the people are getting slaughtered right now. Luke Thompson, I added more flour, sugar, and coffee to my preps this weekend. Absolutely, yeah. You really have to, rice, flour, dry pasta, all of that stuff is just gonna be a lot more expensive and a lot more difficult to get in the not so distant future. The inflation you're already seeing is nothing in comparison to what's coming. This is coming, guys. This is not a matter of if, it's a matter of, and it's not even a matter of when, because it's already here. But it's going to be getting a lot worse than it already is. And you guys just don't get it in terms of how this becomes poverty all around you. It's not just about gas being more expensive. Damn, I have to pay how much for gas? Look at Putin. Putin is the one responsible for the price of gas. No, Putin is a scumbag and should be put down like a dog. But the inflation that you're seeing, of course, none of this helps, but the inflation you're seeing right now is directly linked in 99% to what's been going on these last couple years. And inflation being the method by which all of that wealth is taking out of you directly into their own pocket. United States needs to stay out of it. Those borders change every 45. I love this. Or I'm not going to be sending boots. There's no U.S. soldiers in Ukraine. Stop, chest thumping for something you're not doing. You're not fighting in Ukraine, so stop saying, I'm not going to be fighting in Ukraine. No, you're not. We all understand that. So, yes, we get it. Why are the Ukrainian Bolsheviks better than the Russian? Well, because Putin invaded, bombed, and slaughtered Ukrainians that were peacefully living in their own country. That's not that hard to understand, okay? Z for Zorro. Agree, even if Putin removed, it's just on the next gangster. Putin is super popular now in Russia. You know what? I doubt he's as popular as he was once, as he was before. Very similar to what you see in Venezuela with Chavez. Hugo Chavez, at first, super popular. Hugo Chavez won democratically the presidency of Venezuela. With the commie agenda, with the socialist agenda, he won fair and square. But he's a commie dictator, and commie dictators do what they do. They stay in power forever. They never leave. And little by little, but surely enough, their people end up hating their guts. I assure you that there's a growing sentiment against Putin right now in Russia. I'm pretty sure there was always that, but for a lot of people, it was like, you know what? We're okay. Now that they're not okay anymore, or not nearly as okay as they used to be, and they're going back to the Soviet misery era, a lot of people are seeing that. A lot of people are, of course, blind, as they always are. There's always a breaking point. If you look at Venezuela, and this is something I was talking with Matt. You want to overthrow Maduro in Venezuela? Go and do it. CIA money so as to overthrow Maduro in Venezuela. People are going to be making monuments in your honor if you help them get rid themselves of that bastard. Yes, people don't want to live with dictators ruining their lives. In Venezuela, it has reached that point where the great majority of the population understands that they're living in absolute misery because of the commie dictator ruling over them. If anyone wants to lend a hand and get rid of that son of a bitch, I'm pretty sure most Venezuelans will strongly support that and appreciate that greatly. Tommy Davis, Fernando, how is the food supply situation where you are? It's fine, really. But I do this for a living. I plan these things carefully, and I'm in a place that is mostly pretty well. But nothing is gonna be completely immune to all of this. So as of right now, yeah. Other than maybe in some stores you see some things missing for a while, then you go to the next grocery or supermarket, and its shelves completely full, not a single box missing in the entire supermarket. That's also true. So yeah, I'm good. We're good in my area, but that does not mean it's gonna be staying this way forever, and that doesn't mean that there's not gonna be some things missing. So we all have to prepare for what's coming, which is gonna be a lot worse than what we already have right now. And yes, some places, some countries, some areas, some states in the United States, some states are going to be worse off than others. And this is all part of preparedness. This is what I've been doing all these years. This is what I've been trying to do with my videos, and explain to people how you have to adapt to these things. Again, check the previous video about inflation. Both parties in America would welcome a fight with Russia right now. No, they would not. Neither party would welcome a fight with Russia right now. That's why they're not fighting Russia right now. This is this is the first war America doesn't actually like. This is the first war they're not getting involved in, man. The United States has been in constant war for the last 50 years. Now, this specific war is one that, no, yeah. This is why they plant these agendas, this thing of, no, we're not going to be sending boots to Ukraine. Yeah, we know that. We saw that already. And then on the other hand, oh, they're just as bad as the Russians. It's both. Both are bad. We shouldn't. So all of these are social engineering mechanisms as to make people happy with the decision that's already been made. Yes, you can rest assured that no, the United States is not going to be getting involved in this. Sam McKenzie, RT is more than Russia propaganda. I personally never really listened to it, but many of the content creators are left-leaning liberals with whom I agree, not nominally about interventionism. I've been watching RT News for, man, you know where I watched for the first time RT News? RT News in Spanish, because they have a Spanish propaganda machine as well. And one of the things that Cristina Kirchner agreed with Vladimir Putin when they first came to this collaboration between commies is that, yes, Argentines would be fed Russian propaganda. And we have RT News in Spanish. So yeah, it is Russian propaganda. You may like it, but it is an official Russian outlet, and everything that comes out of RT News will be tainted by that. That's why they've resigned. The few serious people they had left resigned live as the show was going on with cameras live. But yeah, that's what it is. Regroup for Poland entry into the existing conflict. I don't think Poland will be getting in there. No, Poland is worried about themselves, man. They're just right next to them. Poland is part of NATO, and they're not going to be moving a finger without the consent of the United States. And the United States is not going to be getting involved in this. So Poland will help, as they are doing a lot with the amount of refugees that they have pouring in. Millions of people. Look at the generosity of the far right-wing Polish people that have been insulted, attacked, trashed on the media for years as a far right, far right politics and people that hated everyone. Look at how they're helping out in times of real need. At the other end of the spectrum, you have all of these self-claimed generous people and countries that are doing not a damn thing. We need to clone Ron Paul and get him to run again in 35 years. Yeah, that would be awesome. He had some fantastic ideas. Ron Paul wanted to end the Fed, go back to the gold standard. People laugh at him as if he's some gold, using gold again like pirates. People don't understand a damn thing. But do you think Ron Paul had a chance of becoming president of the United States if he was running on the idea of ending the Fed? Of course not. Of course not. The last president that tried to do anything even close to that, you know how he ended up with, right? Old Soviet dissidents say we have an advantage over you in the free West. We know everything the government tells us is a lie. Yeah. Will Saxon, how you be so... Dude, I'm not even going to be reading you because that's ridiculous. Matt has a great analysis of the Ukraine situation on his Gab with Scott Ritter. Jeff Brooks, fried squirrel biscuit and gravy, delicious. Get acquainted with wild game. They are destroying our food. Jeff Brooks, about wild game, don't count on it. It happened already during the Great Depression that deer was pretty much wiped clean in the vicinity because people were hunting for food. And you know what happens when just 1% of people try to hunt for food? Food runs out immediately. There's just no place in the United States that has enough game so as to sustain a population of constant hunters trying to put food on the table. It is okay for one or two guys go out and put some meat on the table, hunt, yes, but it's not sustainable. In a matter of days, you would run out of any wild game, any edible wild game. It has happened throughout history in pretty much any country you bother looking into. In Argentina, and Argentina is huge in comparison to the United States and the amount of population. Argentina is 40 million people. Damn big country. In Buenos Aires, which is all pampa, it's all flat grass. There's wild rabbits running all over the place. They pretty much exterminated the population of wild rabbits in just a few weeks, months. There was, and slowly it came back, but if that's something that goes on, it's just not sustainable. You don't have the amount of wildlife for the modern populations to sustain themselves. Greetings from Quilmes, Nicolás. Yes, from the southern suburbs. Quilmes is pretty close for where I am from. I'm from Banfield in the district of Lomas de Zamora. So that's southern Buenos Aires. Man, yes. Memories. Michael Rosales, kill the West from the inside. That's why, of course. Well, why not? I mean, if you can do that, why not do it? They've been doing it all along. Serve their interests for sure. Milk jugs only hold water for approximately 3 years. Yes, because milk jugs, they deteriorate. So yeah, you want to have actual water bottles. Wish more Americans would watch your channel. Read your blog for over 10 years ago and enjoy your books. Good stuff. Talk about boring his collapse. Yeah, well, as I was saying in the previous video, there's a lot of you folks that have been following me for a long time, and I really appreciate that. That's the reason why I've been able to do this for as long as I have, and very successfully so far. And I hope to keep doing it because this is what I like doing, and this is a passion of mine. It's not just my line of work. Then Short Depot, Fernando, you're the only voice I heard that states the obvious. Jada Smith shaves her head. I don't see any bald spot. I mean, is it really that hard to see? That woman is not bald. She has more hair than I do, right? She's not bald. She has a full damn head full of hair, and she just chooses to shave. There's a video. She's with another, like a daughter or son. You don't even know anymore because these freaks are all, trans, whatever, But there's a clip where there's Will Smith, Cuck Will Smith. Yeah, that's what he is, with Jada and one of their kids, bald, just like. So she shaved her head because she likes that look. That woman hasn't got, and the alopecia condition that she has, that's bald spots. That's not a disease. That's being 50. That woman has not any kind of disease. But yeah, liberals defending that has. But I watched a pretty cool video from Steven Crowder, and he made the same point I did when I covered this in my own video in my channel. That it's not just about, this is the silly, stupid Oscars, it's no big deal. Sure, it's no big deal. But then again, it is, because it is the reflection of how we end up accepting things now as normal. Now it's, the left defends the idea of, I don't like a joke someone says, I just stand up, go there and slap the guy across the face like nothing. And it's legally assault, He should have been arrested for that. You would have been arrested for that, not them, because there's rules for them. And also this idea that violence is a matter of opinion. Look at how all interconnects, Putin bombs Ukraine, but they're Nazis, so it's kind of okay. Are they really Nazis? I heard someone say once, there's a couple Nazis for sure, so it's okay. It's the same thing. I'm offended, so I'm going to be burning and looting a city. That doesn't make sense, doesn't connect. Well, it's the same thing. It's the same sick, twisted, confused logic that justifies Putin attacking an entire country. It's the same logic that justifies burning and looting American cities because racism. And it's the same logic that applies to, I'm going to be attacking and beating you to death because your silence is violence. Just because something rhymes doesn't mean it's true. Silence is not violence. But this is something, just like with Russian propaganda, this is mental poison that confuses a lot of people. There's a lot of people that honestly think that silence is violence and that you should be beaten to death because you're silent about racism in America. So we're going to be beating you to death. We're going to be burning down your city, your stores, your houses, because you're violent with your silence. And Will Smith is going to be slapping the Chris Rock, a much smaller guy. That it's not just that he was smaller. Chris Rock was completely shocked by this. And, should have he put his hands up? Yes, of course. But I like that Chris Rock thought it was insane for him to be slapped while doing his job in the middle of the Oscars, because that's what normal people should think. What's not normal is a poor bastard like Will Smith laughing at a joke that his friend or acquaintance made, looking at his wife, the wife that has his balls in her purse, looks at him and, I didn't like that, Will. Go and slap him. And Will Smith, cuck Will Smith with his wife sleeping with other men and laughing in his face, gets up and, shut your damn fucking mouth. It is so sad, but this is what we're living. This is the world. This is a confused world we're living now, where right is wrong and wrong is right, and violence is silence and silence is violence, and bombing towns is okay because there's a Nazi probably there, maybe, or Zelensky, he's an actor, so it's okay that we bomb the country, right? No, it's not okay. Yeah, sorry for the rant, but you know how this goes. Ferfal, how would you equate the members of the New World Order who have rejected Putin from their group? He's the next Gaddafi? I don't think they've rejected them all that much, man. All of the sanctions, all of the things that they're doing just to stop him, they're not doing a damn thing. If the New World Order, if the elites wanted to stop Putin, Putin wouldn't have attacked in the first place. Putin invades Ukraine with the consent of the United States, with the consent of the rest of the elites of the world. That's why all of these meetings, Macron running and talking, he's going to be attacking anytime soon. Yes, he confirmed this. It is. Do you think that Vladimir Putin would have attacked if he knew that he would have his ass handed to him in a matter of hours? Of course not. But it is Ukraine. Ukraine has nothing going for them. They were not even allowed to join NATO like the rest of the countries that did get that. So they were just handed over in a silver platter, and that's that. But they're fighting because they're proud people and they don't like to be, killed by Russians, which makes a lot of sense. And it works in their favor that this already happened in 2014. So unless you're completely stupid, you know that if you were attacked and invaded and annexed part of your country in 2014, this could very much happen again. And you saw that the world didn't care all that much. Look at how it ended up being that Putin invades Ukraine in 2014. He annexes Crimea. He takes over the republic, independent republic of bullshit, but basically he invades and takes over part of Ukraine in 2014. And in 2018, we have, yeah, I'm terrible. In 2018, we have the World Cup, FIFA, in Russia, as if nothing. FIFA World Cup, you guys have no idea what that is because, that one of the stranger things is that the United States does not participate in the most popular, most capitalist sport in the world, which is football, what you guys call soccer. That is the most popular sport. It's also the most capitalist. Some people say it's commie ball. Man, do you have any idea the amount of money moved in those clubs? One of those clubs was owned, or is actually owned by a Russian oligarch. There's a lot of money involved in it anyway. A FIFA World Cup is a way in which you whitewash your country. If your country is a shithole of corruption, of authoritarianism, a way in which you wash that is with a FIFA World Cup. You pretend to be a cool guy that likes soccer, right? And they did that. 2018 FIFA World Cup, no problem. No, we're not going to be doing any sanctions. You just attacked a country and took over a piece of its land. That's okay. So no, the elites is not against Russia. They're just kind of wishing it didn't get this bad and this horrible. I guess some. I hope that some people are, regretting their support for this dictator at some point. Most knew that what he was going to be doing and couldn't give a damn. Comparing Chavez to Putin is a joke. No, it's not. They're actually very similar. I feel sorry for countries that are endlessly bombarded with false, misleading, dishonest propaganda, government propaganda. Of course, I'm referring to America. Yeah, well, but you know what? That's yet another Russian lie that you're as bad as we are. This is a very typical, and someone says comparing Chavez to Putin is a joke. It's a joke to you because you don't understand a damn thing, but believe me, it's not. It's actually very similar, the way in which they operate. In Argentina, the commies, when we had Macri as president, the commies would have this line of, he's just as bad as we are. He's also a thief. They lie in America as well, so they're just like us in Russia. America is just as anti-democratic as the United States is. So we have a dictator, but U.S. is no better. This is typical 101 strategy from the corrupt, from the evil is, you're just as bad as I am. No, I'm not. No, I'm not as bad as you are. If you are a damn dictator bombing a country, you're not as bad as I am, right? We're not on the same level. If you have a dictator in Russia for the last 20 years, no, the country that actually holds elections within its limitations, and especially the last few years, it's been quite bad, right? We can agree on that, but at least you have them, man. at least you have some kind of election, and eventually, at some point, with a little bit of luck, you will have someone else in office that's not as bad as the guy that is right now. But that's only possible if you don't have a dictator that's staying in power forever, in perpetuity, which is what they have in Russia. And no, it's not the same Russia and the United States. Anyone that thinks that is a moron. If you think that, oh, we're the same as Russia because we have a dictator as well, no. As horrible as the situation is, and I agree. I agree with you absolutely. The decrepit old Biden and his handlers are scum, yes, and they're anti-American, absolutely. Or maybe that's a matter of opinion as well. Let me know there what you think. But or they have a very different idea of what America should be. Maybe anyway. But every 4 years you have elections. When you have a dictator, that goes away. Rubles now required for Russian petroleum. Okay, water, food, ammo, Glock, and AK. I'm comfy. John Hawkins, thanks, man, for. Yeah, that's actually a good line. Water, food, ammo, Glock, and AK-47. How is ammo availability in Spain? It is fine. It's a culturally different thing. In countries where you don't have that much of a of such a large part of the population buying up all the ammo, it's actually cheaper than it is over in US, I think. Fernando, you talked about how being bared with nothing to do was so hard on people when power went out. I really wish more emphasis was placed on the mental aspect of the collapse. Russell Ensley. Yeah, look, man, it can be quite boring at times. Being without power, if you've been for an extended period of time, you have to find other things to do. It's particularly bad if you're used to, if you live in a small apartment in the middle of the city. You don't even have a damn yard, and all you do is watch TV and play video games all day long. Without power, all of that suddenly ends. If you're out and you have a piece of land, you can get yourself busy. The idea of having a garden and working on that, it's more about the psychological thing. Besides, having some food production, but having an activity outdoors, being in a place where you're not in a cell, pretty much like people in a small apartment in a city will be. That's huge. And I think that the worst thing is for people that cannot take the shock of becoming poor. This is something that you're going to be seeing soon enough. You're seeing it already. But for a lot of people, the idea of being poor, the idea of not being able to provide for their families anymore, that's the reason why a lot of people commit suicide when this ends up happening. And again, this is something I've done videos about already, and this is something I wrote about in this book right here, right? The one many of you have. But in my book, I explained that a lot of people, the stress kills a lot of people. Heart attacks, the stress of not finding a job or not finding a job that pays enough to sustain their families. People that were used to working hard, doing okay, or doing very well actually, and they just cannot find a way of getting by in the new reality they're thrown into. They just can't take it. That's why you see suicide rates going through the roof when you see stuff like this. And a lot of these statistics are being, cooked because of the pandemic these last couple of years. That's a number that they don't want to show you. They don't want to show you how many people committed suicide. How much has suicide gone up in the last 2 years? That would be a nice figure to find. Actual believable data, not the crap that we're being told. But I'm very curious to know how many people overdosed or committed suicide because of all the insane measures taken by those in power these last couple of years. We would get in the war if we knew Ukraine would not use nuclear weapons. Conventionally, we're stronger than them or China. I don't know. I don't think it's something that the United States wants to be involved in. I'm pretty sure that the answer would be no. We would get involved. We would get in the war if we knew Russia. yeah, Russia has nukes, China has nukes, you guys have nukes as well. So yeah, it's been one of those mutual destruction reassurance of you're not going to be using nukes because we have them as well, and we would use them too. At least up until a couple months ago, that was why you had nukes in the first place, and it was supposed to be a good thing. All of a sudden, it's as if that has changed. Fernando, on point about Poland, how they were demonized by the IS. Yes. Hello, Fernando, TC. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing just an hour, guys, today. My voice, I'm struggling quite a bit. Still going through a little bit of a cough there. Tammy Davis, for being bored, get crayons, color pencils, and color books. Yeah, that's good advice. Also, if you have solar panel batteries, you could run a TV and watch a movie, and once in a while, that's also something very possible. But sitting in your ass watching TV all day long, maybe not as healthy as going out working out. Working out. That's also something. I bought myself one of these rowing water rowers. Google it, look it up. Water rower. It's awesome. It has a very pleasant noise to it when you're hearing the whoosh of water as you row in your living room. Pretty nice. It's a very complete workout. Also, you feel the entire upper body, torso, back, very complete. Nice. If you're looking for something to do a little bit of workout in your house, check out the water rower. There's also the air one. My brother has the Concept 2 air rower. It's like a big fan. It's a bit noisier, but it's pretty much just the same thing, just as good. The water rower is more silent and has a more pleasant sound. And at the end of the day, I guess it is actual water you're rowing, right? You're rowing in water by an internal system. So I guess it's more similar to actual rowing in water. Will Smith was a day thing for me. I don't know what that means. Yup, teaching their people's violence. Hit the like button, George Orwell. Yes, thanks, man. Chris Rock had to do is take a step back. Spicing is key. Will use an open hand because paper beats rock. Yeah, that's good. I think it was staged just because I don't trust the media. I don't think it was staged at all. The way he started cursing afterward, he was out of control. He was lashing out. Frustrated man that was humiliated by his wife and pretending to be brave by hitting a smaller guy in the middle of the Oscars. I guess it was also pathetic. And you know why I don't think it was staged? Because Chris Rock would never have agreed to anything like that. Honestly, why would Chris Rock offer himself to such humiliation? There's no way in which Chris Rock is not a minor comedian. He's he's one of the all-time great comedians. You may like him more or less, but that's what he is. He's one of the most recognized, he's achieved pretty much everything a comedian could possibly want, and he's not lacking in money. He's not doing it for a few bucks, right? There's no way Chris Rock offered himself to be humiliated like that just so as to do a favor for the Oscar guys, Now, he was paid to do a job. I suppose he was compensated accordingly, but this was not part of the deal. I blame the West as much as Putin for the guy that's bombing children. That's Vladimir Putin, not you or me or the West. But it was condoned. It is something that was allowed to happen. Let's put it that way. Yesterday, genocide in Bucha, Ukraine is why Ukrainians fight. Yeah, it is terrible. I watched it. I watched some of the images from website from a news website from Argentina. It's called Clarin.com. It's owned by a traditional journalist family, which is always being accused of being like the burguesia, like the rich. But there's lots of images there that I haven't seen anything like that in any of the American outlets. It is terrible, man. The graves, people shot while tied, their hands tied, bound, and the corpses just lying there. I feel sorry for countries that are endlessly bombarded by bombs. Yeah. Some kind of election respect, sir, for seeing through Russia's bullshit. Some of the other pathetic right wing clings on to Putin is a disgrace. It's becoming more and more difficult. The Tucker Carlson thing is, man, that has to be a lot of money changing hands because, supporting something like this, it gets to a point where how far are you going to be, seeing that? But I did a video about this very, 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 very similar thing like the Tucker Carlson with this journalist from Argentina. He's actually born in Uruguay, but he made his entire career in Argentina, mostly. Victor Hugo Morales, a very well-known, very respected, journalist or public opinion voice. A guy that has had an impeccable reputation up until that point. All of a sudden, he starts talking in favor of the Kirchner government. And people were, what the fuck is going on? Why is this man defending that which we all know is corrupt, evil? They're stealing the entire country in front of our very own eyes. We're all seeing it. They are as corrupt as you could possibly be, and all of a sudden, this man with a fantastic reputation, all of a sudden, he's defending it. And guess why? Yeah, wild guess. Why would a man sell his reputation defending that which cannot be defended? Because of money. That's why Victor Hugo Morales does it still. And I bet it's the same thing for Tucker. I don't see it any other way. But, maybe he's commie ideologist, like Tulsi Gabbard. Is Tulsi Gabbard a commie? She's been accused of being a Russian spy. Well, damn, you sure talk like one. What kind of American person says, well, give up to the Russians? Give up, you don't have a chance of winning. She was interviewed by Hannity and Fox. Hannity did a very decent job. He was like, what the hell is this woman talking about? That's your position? Okay. Then you're surprised when you're being accused of being a Russian spy if you go around telling people to surrender to Russia. What happens when Ukraine happens on U.S. soil? Man, I don't think that happening, but, I don't see that happening anytime soon, but I would guess that Tucker Carlson would not be rooting for Russia anymore, or would. Maybe if Russia attacks and invades Alaska, Tucker would still be rooting for Russia because, Putin is better than Biden. That's also a thing. The idea of using a war, the other end of the world, so as to get some political points against Democrats. That's also something that in the mind of some Republicans maybe makes sense. We don't really give a damn about Ukraine, but we can, take a few shots at the old man there that's, barely a person anymore. Why not win a few points for our team, a few more votes? But yeah, going back to your question, I guess that Tucker would be rooting for America instead of Russia if Russia attacks. I think that Tulsi Gabbard would still be rooting for Russia if Russia attacks Alaska. Something tells me she's a true commie at heart. She fails the Venezuela test. When you ask anyone, is Venezuela a dictatorship, yes or no, and they cannot give you a straight answer, that person is is someone that has been brainwashed or is a true believer. If you ask a person, is Venezuela a dictatorship, and they are not able, yes, maybe not in the United States, but all across South America, every single time you want to get the true scoop on someone, are they being paid or not? You ask that question, and every single time, if they're not able of pushing through their lips, yes, Venezuela is a dictatorship. Maybe the same thing with Russia. But people that cannot accept that what Maduro is doing in Venezuela is a dictatorship, those are people that will not give you a straight answer. They're incapable. They're either bought, have no moral backbone of any kind, or they are true believers in that communism done right is going to be better than what we have in the West, which is so unfair because of the elite, right? One thing does not change the other. The fact that we have a ruling elite that it's horrible and beyond and above the justice that the rest of us mere mortals have to abide by, and the rules that we all have to follow, that doesn't change the fact that there are very much dictators in the world. Anyway, hey, Nogface, thanks you, man. Speaking of, thanks for a super chat, Nogface. Speaking of Tiger Fox News, and curious on your take of Fox News newest commentator Bruce. Caitlyn Jenner, stupid move on the network part, in my humble opinion. Knockface. No, you're not allowed to say that anymore. Why? Because you see how it's all the same thing, man. It's all the same thing. Now Caitlyn is cool. Bruce, Caitlyn, whatever the fuck it is. Now that's cool. So it's no longer gender dysphoria. These are no longer sick people. These are no longer people that have a mental disorder and should not be taken seriously because they cannot even perceive reality themselves correctly. I don't know. All of that changes because Caitlyn is in Fox. So now that Caitlyn is in Fox, but this is what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. You have to be objective. You have to look at these things and don't fall in love with anyone. Don't become a cult follower for any of these. Make your own mind. Think for yourself, because people can be bought. And it's Fox News. You think that Fox is not part? I mean, Fox News is a mainstream media network. What did you expect from them other than a slightly different version of their, And this is something that Russell Brand actually covers quite well, is the idea of pitting one against the other. It's Republican versus Democrat versus Republican, and Fox versus CNN. At the end of the day, 99% of the things that they actually end up doing, it's pretty much the same thing. So in Fox, you have Tucker rooting for Russia, right? In CNN, you have people that are supposedly rooting for Ukraine, but Ukraine is actually defending themselves. That's not good. No. Just die, and we'll be outraged for you, but don't actually do anything to fight back. And we're not going to be defending you either. So screw you. And actions are what matter. The rest is just words, and words don't mean a damn thing. So when you see the actual actions, not doing a thing. This idea that Democrats want to what? Fight Russia to save Ukrainians? Come on, be real. No. The Democrats don't want that. Republicans don't want that. They're both pretty much on the same line, but they still have to pretend to disagree and fight because that's the game, right? Hope nobody makes a mistake on your death certificate. Yeah, she's the... How you know Russell Brand is in control opposition? We don't know. That's the way they play us. Um, how is it that I know what I know? You know why? Because I've seen all of this shit for so long, for so many years. I can tell. At this point, I can tell. I can tell when someone has been bought. I mean, it's not always all that obvious, but sometimes it is. When you see a huge, massive changing narrative from one state to the other, it's usually because someone was bought. When you see someone ashamed of what he's saying, even though they try to hide it, that's also a serious tell. I see Russell Brand trying to be objective in many of the things he does, but as I explained in that video I did, Russell Brand is using, I mean, one of the things, you know why? Because he mentions and he says the source of what he's reading. Russell Brand says, I'm just reading the news and just trying to think, which is okay. That's fine. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could just read you CNN right now, right? Massive graves found in town on outskirts of Kiev. I read Fox News. You want me to read Fox News right now? Okay. Fox News. Makes no sense, says Biden. Poor old Biden. Reporter puts Biden economic record on notice with 2 words: inflation crushing Americans. Okay. I'm telling you the source and I'm reading out loud what I'm seeing. Now, when Russell Brand does this and he mentions this source, have you bothered checking that source that he's using? I have. All of the sources he's been using in relationship to Russia and Ukraine and many of the things that sound kind of, where's this coming from? These sources are socialist media outlets. These are socialist organizations. Mint something and a couple of Jacobin magazine. That's a socialist outlet. So yes, a socialist outlet will have a certain agenda. Is it an accident that he's using mostly socialist outlets instead of something that is really objective? Because anything that is socialist is siding with Russia right now because it's against the West. They side with China, they side with Russia, they pretend Venezuela is a democracy, and that Cuba is a shithole because of the sanctions of U.S., which in part may well be. But that doesn't mean that it's not a horrible commie dictatorship as it is right now. So check the sources, look at those, and if it says we are a socialist outlet, man, yeah, yes. I wouldn't expect anything else. Okay, guys, an hour and a bit more. I'll be calling it right now. My voice is going. And yeah, I think we talk a little bit about, as always, say thanks for the support, for being here. And yeah, that's going to be all, folks. I have trans friends. They really do struggle and deserve support. Fernando, yes, like every other sick person, they deserve support. But playing onto their delusions is not helpful. I don't think it helps even them. The idea of telling a man that, yes, you're a woman now? Okay, you're a woman. No, you're a man. You may want to be a woman, but you're not, right? And there's usually very clear things that have happened to these people in their lives that make them feel this way emotionally, sexually. Usually it's a lot of abuse. Usually it's physical abuse. Usually it's mental abuse. Why is it that they hide the numbers in terms of suicide rate, in terms of do you have any idea the numbers in terms of domestic violence for trans and gay people? According to the BBC, which, as far as I know, is a pretty liberal left-wing outlet, BBC, 3 times as much. And you know what? They say that it's because they're discriminated. So they're violent among themselves because, look, this goes on forever. Yes, they deserve all the support because they're people with a very serious condition, a very serious mental disorder. But pretending that a man is a woman and a woman is a man and a man can be a horse or a dragon or a damn unicorn, if he identifies as such, it's not helping anyone and it's not doing anyone any good. Okay, guys, Yes, in spite of what Disney may have to say about that. Ibuprofeno con acid. Yeah, no, I'm okay. Just a little bit of leftover cough. I'm gonna be getting through it soon. But yeah, you give it a try. Talking for an hour straight. Yeah, your voice goes very quickly. Guys, thanks as always for all of this. And stick around. See you on the following video. And if you have any questions, leave it there in the comments. If you want any specific topics or videos, leave it in the comments, and I'll try to do my best to do that as well. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.